Versatile Mage. Chapter 131 Violent Fire. Tang Yu. Chow. He turned around and saw Tang Yu. He didn't even seem slightly surprised. Instead, he had a sly grin on his face. I believe I should have 2 more charges, and one of them is for killing a member of the magic trials. Chow. He locked his eyes onto Tang Yu, as if he wanted to tear apart her soft clothing. There's nothing more to say to a scum like you. Tang Yu didn't waste any more words. The outline of a fire star atlas slowly formed beneath her feet. Do you think I'll go down like this, Miss Tang Yu? Aren't you a little naive? Chow. He expressed an even more uncanny grin. Tang Yu's face darkened. Just as she was about to begin the fight, she suddenly noticed a cloudy mass surging quickly from the side. It floated into the sky above the small reservoir, rapidly assembling into a dense, dark cloud that cast the entire area into darkness. The dark clouds were so thick that no sunlight could penetrate. They were even dense enough to swallow the bright flame of the fire soul seed. The area instantly became pitch black. Chow. His shadow was absorbed into the darkness, or rather, there was no shadow beneath where he stood. Freed from the restriction, Chow. He shook his head and burst into an evil laugh. I forgot to tell you, I knew you were trailing me. In the past few days, while you pretended to be a traveler and dined in restaurants, I secretly added things to your meals. Chow. He spoke leisurely, not looking at all like a criminal facing his executioner. Tang Yu's expression stiffened again. She had already suspected that the enemy might have another trick up his sleeve. Chow. He had escaped the magic trials several times before, so it was obvious he was not easily captured. According to his words, he had poisoned her food, but Tang Yu didn't believe it. As a member of the magic trials, if you couldn't detect poison in your food, you might as well be an idiot. I knew you wouldn't believe me, but by now, your lips must be feeling dry, Chow. He said calmly. Upon hearing this, Tang Yu subconsciously licked her rosy lips. Truthfully, she had been feeling thirsty and dry for a while, but she thought it was due to the arid environment. It's impossible to make a member of the magic trials eat poisoned food. So, even though I'm an apothecary, I didn't poison you. Instead, I added something beneficial to your body. Chow. His eyes narrowed as he stared at Tang Yu's beauty. He then said slowly, to put it elegantly, it improves blood circulation. But to put it bluntly, oh, you're already reacting. As he spoke, Tang Yu began feeling even drier and more flushed. Her blood circulation sped up, her heartbeat quickened, and something like a gentle bite prickled her skin, making it hard to focus. Her breathing grew heavier, as though trying to quench a deep thirst. Her whole body felt weak, unable to muster the strength to stand, and at the same time, she felt an overwhelming, uncontrollable urge. Like a greedy cat ready to leap into a warm embrace. Shameless, shameless. Tang Yu finally realized what he had slipped into her food. She trembled with humiliation and fury. The magic trials wanted to learn the source of the violent spring from me, so they sent a beautiful lady like you to capture me. Don't they know that, apart from being a magician, I'm also a remarkable apothecary? I have many ways of dealing with women. Oh, and didn't I mention there'd be 2 more charges for me? One for killing a judicator, and another, Tusk. We're all adults here. I'm sure you understand. Throughout the pursuit, Tang Yu had been extremely careful. She still couldn't figure out how this shameless criminal had known she was trailing him. She had been vigilant, knowing full well. The man was an apothecary. She guarded against all harmful substances, never realizing that he wouldn't poison her at all. Instead, he had chosen a stimulant. No wonder when Mo Fan had pressed close to her under the tree earlier, she had felt an unspeakable attraction. It was the drug, making her amorous. Bastard. This damn wretch. How could such a despicable human exist? Deep in the woods, Mo Fan had seen the mishap. He was taken by surprise. He was an adult too, but how had he not realized it? At that moment, Mo Fan still couldn't decide whether to strike now or wait for an opening. He certainly wouldn't watch his beloved Tang Yu be murdered in cold blood. The problem was, Could he even fight this psycho? You swine. I'll burn you to ashes. While Mo Fan hesitated, Tang Yu roared. In an instant, a tremendous wave of flames surged outward from her position. Her long hair billowed freely, like a noble and beautiful phoenix releasing its wrath. Phoenix flame. Tang Yu stood proudly amid the raging inferno, her eyes glowing with a stunning scarlet light. A killing aura flickered across her beautiful face. Fiery fist. The flames intensified even further. Ju Gong. The last words were spoken with respect. Mo Fan recognized Tang Yu's stance for casting intermediate fire magic, but this time, it felt different. First, the flame she controlled wasn't the usual red flame. She called it the Phoenix Flame, an overbearing scarlet as if it carried noble blood. Second, her fiery fist wasn't the basic first level exploding heavens. It was the third level, 9 palaces. Mo Fan had no idea how strong her phoenix flame was compared to ordinary fire. As Tang Yu gathered the waves of flame into her left hand and hurled them ferociously to the ground, Mo Fan finally experienced the might of the fiery fist 9 palaces. The sight left him utterly stunned. Chapter end. Versatile Mage. Chapter 132. You faking dog. No matter what, the small reservoir was still 100 meters in circumference. This hallowed, dried-up ground looked like it had been rammed by countless things, as numerous cracks on the ground frantically spurted superheated earth into the air. The cracks on the ground were like a vermilion-colored whale jumping into the air, charging out of the sea, surging forward. Following that, 8 other majestic molten cracks exploded, as though the surface of the ground was being released from its shackles. The waves of fire were spreading into the surroundings. Additionally, the collision of the forces combined into an increasingly ferocious destructive wave of fire as it rolled over. The spirit of the flames was rampaging around the colossal pillars of the ground cracks. It was like a ferocious beast baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. Its wrath was unfathomable. A violent fist spurted forth from 9 ground cracks. Each of the ground cracks that bubbled forth reflected the others. It became a raging flame that was wreaking havoc wantonly in the 100-meter wide area, setting everything on fire. The 4 intermediate magicians from the Dongfang family had used an intermediate magic that could be considered somewhat powerful. However, compared to this Queen of Flames at this moment, they would be considered relatively weak. Although the 2 magics were the same spells, they felt like they were of different realms. This was Mo Fan's first time seeing Tang Yu's true strength. He was unable to comprehend it. This Chao he would definitely be burned into ashes. The colossal energy of the violent fist exploded over this part of the mountain range. Not too long ago, this area was a small water reservoir, but after the Phoenix Flame's violent fist 9 palaces, there were no longer any words that could be used to describe it. When the grandiose flame energy had finally settled, Mo Fan stared at Chao He's location, wondering if that guy had completely fallen. However, Mo Fan was shocked once more. Chao He was still there. His entire being looked like it was covered in a layer of rock armor. The rock armor had already been scorched black. It even began to peel off bit by bit. After the armor peeled off, it revealed Chao He's wounded body. He coughed a few times beneath the smoke, his eyes immediately revealing a killing anger. You have actually destroyed my treasured armor equipment. It seems like you will have to use your plump body to let me vent out the anger of several years. Only after that will I allow you to die. Chao He's entire body trembled as he shook the destroyed armor off his body. The wounded Chao He no longer had that morbid grace. His entire being was more like a wild animal, cruel and savage. His eyes were fixated on Tang Yu, who began to heavily gasp for breath. It was like his gaze had torn Tang Yu's body into pieces. Shit. Seeing Chao He not suffering a mortal wound, Tang Yu grew increasingly alert. The truth is, when it came to fighting one-on-one, Tang Yu, who possessed the Sparrow Flames, was a league above Chao He in terms of combat. Otherwise, the higher-ups wouldn't have let her pursue Chao He by herself. However, this guy Chao He was incredibly sinister. The drugs he had dosed her with weren't life-threatening. However, they did severely affect Tang Yu's control over her stars. Her desires were simply so strong that they nearly made her lose all her reasoning. Just how many of those slow-acting drugs did she eat for her to become like this? If it was only the effects of the drugs, then Tang Yu would still be able to do something. Unfortunately, she was currently feeling traces of cold coming from her surroundings. It was precisely his curse elemental magic. This god's forsaken Chao He had even included her in the magic. Tang Yu was preparing herself for the worst-case scenario, falling into the hands of the criminal. She'd have to destroy her body so she could avoid the insults. However, she still carried a slight hope. That hope was Mo Fan, who she had called over as a backup plan. Tang Yu called Mo Fan over because she was afraid there'd be some kind of accident. Furthermore, Chao He had also cultivated the fire element. Thus, fighting against him by herself would not be an easy job. Tang Yu couldn't help but let out a moan. She felt her body growing increasingly weaker. She had no choice but to lean onto the rock next to her as her breathing became more intense. The black, incorporeal spider web binding, and the effects of the drug made her want to strip off all of her clothes. The heat made her go nearly crazy. Chao He's violent gaze was fixated on Tang Yu's curvy, delicate physique. Seeing her weak yet repressed appearance made his previous irritable mood from before slowly settle down. It was like he was watching a sheep waiting to get slaughtered. Fiery fist, exploding heavens. As Chao He just relaxed his vigilance, a colossal fist of flames suddenly charged forth from within the forest. The trees were abruptly turned into ashes beneath the sweep of the colossal fist, the flames surging as they became incredibly savage. The colossal fiery fist's objective was precisely Chao He. Chao He's face displayed a shock of horror. He never thought that there'd be another intermediate mage hiding inside the forest as he was taking his sip of victory. Boom! The fiery fist exploded on the location of Chao He, once again becoming the center of a colossal explosion of flames. Mo Fan was staying back as he looked at the chaotic flames. He thought Chao He had been blown into dregs. However, the cautious Mo Fan would not easily walk out of the forest. If there was yet another trap there, then he and Tang Yu would definitely perish together. Still not dead. As Mo Fan saw Chao He standing there, his face also turned serious. Even this kind of sneak attack did not succeed. Just how many cards did that guy have up his sleeves? Mo Fan's current mood could only be described with 3 words: "You faking dog." On the other side, Chao He's surroundings revealed a half-arc shield made of water. Behind the water shield, Chao He's face had turned incredibly distorted. Even though he was able to open the abundant water shield to protect himself, he still felt the shock of the fiery fist. His viscerae and bowels were in incredible pain. Kid, if you want to act like a hero and save the beauty, then you need to know if you are capable. With blood flowing down his mouth, Chao He's gaze was viciously staring at Mo Fan. He looked as though he was going to eat him. We're both fire elementals. Do you really think you can hurt me? You are merely someone who has just treaded upon the intermediate level, and you have yet to awaken a second element. Do you really think you can fight against me? Magicians with a higher cultivation could easily determine the cultivation of another magician through the use of perception and intent. Initially, Chao He thought there was yet another judge from the magic trials appearing. However, after observing carefully, he realized it was merely a guy who had just entered the intermediate level. His strength hadn't even reached the level of the 4 people from the Dongfang family. He hadn't even awakened his second element. This made Chao He feel at ease. It was obvious that this kid was together with Tang Yu. It seemed like he was still able to contend, and still had a high chance to seize victory. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 133 Intermediate Lightning. I will stand here as I kill you. Mo Fan did not take a step from his location. He was just standing a safe distance away. You can try. However, with your pitiful mana as someone who has just entered the intermediate level, even if you were to use all of your fiery fists, you still won't be able to destroy my abundant water shield. Look at that woman. She has already been trapped by my sinister spider trap. After a while, she will be just like the few people before her, her life completely absorbed. Mo Fan glanced at Tang Yu. At that moment, her whole body did indeed look like it was wrapped in an indiscernible black silk. The dark threads around her body looked like they were beginning to penetrate into her flesh. It was clear that her current condition was similar to that of the four from the Dongfang family. This Chao He had prepared for Tang Yu from the very beginning, and they didn't even know just when she had fallen into the curse trap. It was simply too strange. You want to use my beautiful teacher's life to threaten me. The truth is, I am indeed a person who is greedy for life. I won't make meaningless sacrifices. Therefore, even if you kill her, I won't just stand there and get myself taken by you. How about this? I'll stop trying to destroy your abundant water shield, and you'll release the curse on her. The fire soul seed belongs to you, and the corpses of the four Dongfangs will belong to me. Mo Fan bargained from afar. Chao He was clearly shocked for a moment. He could say that, but did his heart truly think that way? To tell the truth, it was hard to say how many more fiery fists the abundant water shield could block. Even if it was able to block all of them, his own viscera would most likely shatter. The loss of an incredibly attractive and rare beauty from the magic trials was indeed a pity. However, being able to harvest the fire soul seed was the objective. Thus, Chao He was definitely willing to make this deal. However, seeing how someone else had proposed this idea, it just seemed so suspicious. It seemed like the other party was not a good person either. Otherwise, how could he be on the same wavelength as Chao He himself? You won't just attain the remnants of the four Dongfang members. Chao He lewdly smiled as he glanced toward the lady judge from the magic trials, whose face had already turned red. That's a deal, then. Let's have a good cooperation. Don't be too hasty. I'm currently in control of the curse. I won't let the curse directly harm her life. Within this period of time, I will refine the rose flames, and after I have finished the refinement, I will let you take her away, Chao He said. How do I know whether you'll kill her once you've finished refining? Mo Fan rebutted instantly. The curse needs a period of time before it takes a life. You can confirm that point with her. Naturally, if you use Fiery Fist to destroy my abundant water shield within this time, I guarantee that she will die immediately. Don't worry, when it comes to a transaction of benefits, I always negotiate in good faith. The twisting power of the curse did indeed take a period of time. Currently, Chao He only wanted to take the rose flames and walk away. That way, he could avoid the kid and his beautiful teacher's suicidal attempt to kill him. They still might be able to kill him if that happened. Furthermore, if he was to delay even longer, then there would be other people coming here. If that happened, it would be even more inconvenient for him. Especially if a light element or a spirit element magician came along, then his curse traps would be completely useless in front of them. A freak that kills people can still be honest. This makes me, a youth who follows the ideology of magic, a bit embarrassed. Mo Fan confirmed with Tang Yu the time it would take for the curse to take her life, and then confirmed that Chao He had no other trump cards other than the abundant water shield. What did you say? Nothing, it's just. Who said I could only use the fire element? From the forest, Mo Fan's voice suddenly became incredibly dignified. At the same moment, a beautiful purple lightning star path could be seen interlinking beneath Mo Fan's feet. It thirsted to break through all restrictions. Its yearning was turned into the energy that was called forth upon his palm, making all organisms in front of it tremble. Although the speed of using the Lightning Star Atlas book was not very quick, Mo Fan had gotten enough time by making friends with Chao He. Chao He was able to use his senses to discover that Mo Fan was a guy who had just entered the intermediate level. Furthermore, he even knew that Mo Fan hadn't completed his second awakening yet. However, Chao He could never have imagined that Mo Fan had awakened dual elements during his first awakening. When the incomparably violent sound of thunder tore through the forest, Chao Hi's face was immediately filled with shock and horror. The abundant water shield was very effective in terms of blocking fire magic. However, when it was facing lightning, it was just like a decoration. After all, water directly conducted lightning. Chao Hi didn't even have time to run when the lightning star atlas emerged. Furthermore, he didn't have enough time to make the curse twist around Tang Yu's life. The time he had at hand was too short. If it was some other element, Chao Hi would have been able to contend against it. However, against the lightning element, he was simply too unfortunate. The roles of he and Mo Fan had been reversed. His abundant water shield, that had defended against fire so marvelously, was now useless, and the condition of his body was poor. How could he possibly imagine that he'd encounter an innate dual element? Lightning was the strongest of all the classical elements. Its primary spell was already a force to be reckoned with, incomparably impetuous. When it reached the intermediate level, its power became even more violent and tyrannical. If Chao Hi's rock armor was still intact, he wouldn't be afraid of Mo Fan. Now, he felt like his final moments were coming. Thunderbolt. Exploding apex. As Mo Fan chanted, his hands pointed toward the sky. A purple thunderbolt came down unexpectedly, slicing the space in half. The thick and solid purple thunderbolt let out a sharp noise as it shot toward Chao Hi, who was standing on the edge of the hole made by Mo Fan's fiery fist. The thunderbolt came incomparably fast as it fell from the sky. As the exploding apex fell, the area around Chao Hi unexpectedly sank and shattered. Chao Hi, standing right beneath the exploding apex, could feel his entire body beginning to change. Boom! The thunderclap told. Chao Hi was blown apart by the ferocious energy of the thunderbolt, turning into blood rain sprinkling down. The speed of the thunderbolt was simply too fast. At the same time, Chao Hi, whose body was completely shattered, was not actually that gross. The lightning had shattered his flesh into tiny scarlet fragments. It looked like numerous bloody drops, with not a single sign of the previous freak, Chao Hi. Whether it was the intermediate wind magic, wind disc, tornado, or the fire spell, fiery fist, exploding heavens, they all had an incredibly dominant aura. It was either the whole atmosphere suddenly distorted, or a surging heat wave. However, this lightning intermediate spell had no sign of attack, unlike the other spells. With the point of a finger, the lightning fell. Simple and cruel. That abundant water shield was just a useless decoration. The death of Chao Hi was far too sudden. There was no time for him to dread. His flesh had already been turned into blood rain, and his soul was caught completely unprepared as he stood there. He no longer had the chance to taste the Lady Judge from the magic trials, and no longer had the opportunity of growing his flames into the spirit level. He could no longer run amok committing crimes, and he couldn't even curse the kid with the innate dual element for killing him. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 134. Refining the Rose Flames. The curse was slowly dissipating. Mo Fan's conversation with Chao Hi had not been in vain. At the very least, he had managed to save Mrs. Tang Yu from sharing the same fate as the 4 members of the Dongfang family. "Mrs. Tang Yu, are you all right?" Mo Fan asked, seeing her weakly leaning against a rock. At this moment, Tang Yu's clothes were slightly disheveled. With both hands pressed over her chest, it was hard for Mo Fan to tell whether she was trying to protect her jade-like body from being sullied, or if she wanted him to simply tear her clothes apart. Don't come over here." Tang Yu forced herself to sit down, resisting the overpowering urge to throw herself at Mo Fan. Within several kilometers, Mo Fan was the only man present. The kind of situations usually seen only in bad TV dramas could actually happen here. If Mo Fan had been a handsome, refined, princely man, she might have been able to endure this temptation, but this was dangerous. Not good. In this state, any ordinary man might take advantage of her. She had to find a way to send him away. If she could buy herself 10 minutes, she should be able to suppress the curse's effects. A magician's mental strength was much stronger than that of an ordinary person. Right. The rose flames. Normally, it was something meant for the magic trials. But right now, she had no choice but to use it as a distraction. You go and refine the rose flames, Tang Yu said after taking a deep breath. The rose flames can be refined anytime. Your safety is more important, Mo Fan replied earnestly. Tang Yu didn't dare look up at him, cursing silently in her heart. Mo Fan, you idiot. Hurry up and claim the prize. Do you have any idea what state I'm in right now? If you take even one more step, I'll feed you to the dogs. Truthfully, Tang Yu feared that either he might do something to her, or she might do something to him. Clenching her teeth, she said, the spirit-grade fire seed will disperse soon. Oh, you'll really give it to me? Mo Fan asked sincerely. Yes. Tang Yu gritted her teeth even harder. Then take care of yourself. I'll go refine the rose flames. If you need anything, just go. Tang Yu almost exploded. Mo Fan walked away, helpless and a little disappointed. His expression was like a student innocently asking a teacher a question, only to be harshly told to leave. All he could do was sigh about a teacher's inexplicable moods and walk out. But the thought of obtaining an astronomically valuable fire soul seed quickly made him forget everything else. What a charming man I am. Girls just can't help throwing themselves at me, like they're addicted. As a rare specimen in this world, I would never. Alright, truth be told, Mo Fan's focus had already shifted to the ball of flames condensing in Tang Yu's hand. Compared to his own life, the rose flames were far more important. Mo Fan was painfully poor. Such a rare treasure was not something he could turn down. The Dongfang family, Pan Shung's hunter squad, and the murderer had all been badly injured to obtain it. Mo Fan had desired this rose flame from the very start, and without Tang Yu's support, it would never have fallen into his hands. While Tang Yu sat resisting the curse to preserve her dignity, Mo Fan's hands trembled with anticipation as he reached for the treasure. I have to refine this quickly and get Tang Yu out of here. If more magicians show up, it'll be trouble. Without wasting another moment, Mo Fan placed his hand on the exquisite rose flame. A searing heat instantly surged from his palm through his body. At first, it was unbearably hot, but the flame, brimming with spiritual energy, soon revealed that it had no intention of harming him. Gradually, it felt like boiling blood was flowing into his veins. Mo Fan closed his eyes, immersing himself in the strange sensation. The rose flame was gentle, like an infant. It regarded the first person it met as its parent. At first cautious, it quickly dropped its guard, reaching out as if for a hug, and merged into Mo Fan's body, fusing with his fire elemental nebula. This process felt like a baptism of fire. Mo Fan's innate flames began to transform under the influence of the rose flame. The first change came to his body. His skin darkened slightly, taking on the sheen of fine copper. As the rose flames merged deeper, it became even glossier and smoother. His blood transformed next, becoming redder and more vigorous. Then his bones, originally no different from a normal person's, hardened to the toughness of steel. Though unseen, he could clearly feel the difference. But the greatest transformation occurred in the fire nebula within his spiritual world. Originally, the Scarlet Nebula had minor impurities. Now, with the rose flame's arrival, its very nature had evolved. The spiral within the nebula bloomed into a magnificent, mysterious fiery rose that filled the vast darkness of his inner cosmos. When the refinement was complete, the difference was obvious. Even without casting a spell, Mo Fan could feel the rose flame's immense power, calm yet dangerous, like the thorns of a rose. Previously, his fire burst, rupture could severely wound a magical beast. Now, its power had nearly doubled. It could blow a beast half to death, or even kill it outright. Magical beasts were fast, and few would simply stand still to be hit. For most magicians, the rose flame would simply make their spells stronger, but only if they landed the attack. Mo Fan, however, was a man with an innate dual element. He could immobilize a beast with lightning strike, then instantly follow with rose flame fire burst, rupture, ensuring a kill. Lightning Strike took only 1.5 seconds to cast, and Fire Burst the same. In just 3 seconds, even monsters like the one-eyed magical wolf or colossal-eyed ape rat could be slain. The power was overwhelming, and since primary magic didn't consume too much mana, Mo Fan could keep fighting as long as he avoided getting surrounded. Even if he was surrounded, he could let them taste his newly empowered fiery punch. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 135. That's far too provoking. The pillar of rose flames had disappeared. They were merging into Mo Fan's body like a child wanting to follow Daddy Mo Fan in exploring the world. As soon as Mo Fan took a step, a scorched footprint was burned into the ground. A layer of red flames shrouded him now. The feeling of possessing a newborn power spurred Mo Fan to roar aloud, like a tyrannosaurus bellowing towards the sky. Beside the rocks nearby, Tang Yu's breathing gradually returned to normal before she opened her beautiful, blurry eyes. After noticing Mo Fan's transformation, Tang Yu hummed. This time he had really benefited. If it wasn't for the dangerous chemical stimulation, Tang Yu would have never given it to Mo Fan. This thing would have been given to the country. However, bringing Mo Fan with her this time had not been a bad idea either. If Chao He had prevailed, then matters would have gotten even worse. The price of unsealing that layer of curses would have been astronomical, so much that it even made Tang Yu consider burning herself to death. All the people's remains will be confiscated, don't worry about it, Tang Yu coldly said after she saw Mo Fan's greedy face. Mo Fan grinned as he replied quickly, of course, Tang Yu, are you alright? I'm fine, I have disappointed you. Her emotions were written all over her face. The flustered woman's expression seemed just like a shy, overworked woman. Mo Fan seemed like the man who had just sat there and enjoyed his life. Mo Fan knew that Tang Yu was not happy because she had been drugged by that sort of substance. He didn't want to annoy her further, and obediently followed her order to report the dead to the higher ranks. Magical tools were bound to the owner's soul. When the owner died, their spirits dispersed, and the magical items they owned would also be destroyed. They wouldn't have many other worthy items with them. Tang Yu took away only one weirdly shaped ring from Chao He's corpse. Normally, she would explain things that Mo Fan didn't understand. This time, her cold expression hinted to Mo Fan that she wasn't in the mood. Mo Fan and Tang Yu returned to town after quickly leaving the crime scene. It was clear that she was still dealing with residual effects. She called a taxi and had it drive her back to the city. While sitting in the rear seat, Mo Fan closed his eyes while savoring the strange feeling the rose flames were giving him. He could smell something faint at the tip of his nose, vaguely like the scent coming off Tang Yu. It smelled like a rose, sexy and alluring. The spiritual fire can change the physique of the magician. Unless you meet a stronger fire seed, any damage done by other types of fire will be weaker. Tang Yu broke the silence with a cold and elegant voice, showing once again the traits of a teacher. So that's how it works. I thought a magician's physique would always remain this weak. Mo Fan was pleasantly surprised. There was a certain level of immunity against fire, an excellent protective effect. When fighting against fire magicians in the future, this would essentially make him invulnerable. No wonder spirit-grade fire seeds were so expensive. For those wealthy people, it was certainly worth spending so much money on these upgrades. Mo Fan nodded back to her, thinking about the conversation Chao He and Tang Yu had. He asked, is the reason why you were chasing him related to the violent spring and what happened at Bo City? Tang Yu looked out the window and replied, yes. The violent spring is a special type of medicine. It should not be easily found in the hands of the Black Vatican, and in such a massive quantity. We think there is some apothecary in the Magic Association defying the rules, and selling high-level contraband to the Black Vatican for their own benefit. Chao He should have had some information in regard to this, but unfortunately, he is gone. Hopefully we can find some information from his ring. It might have been because of some embarrassing scenes in her mind, but she refused to make eye contact with Mo Fan at this moment. It did not matter to Mo Fan. He was just staring at Tang Yu, who still had noticeably flushed cheeks. Mo Fan looked down a little and found her petite hands gripping tightly onto the cushion, almost ripping it apart. Looking at her evasive eyes again, her pupils seemed to be hiding some sort of impulse. Tang Yu, are you really all right? Mo Fan wholeheartedly asked without any wicked thoughts. It was obvious how dangerous the evil maniac Chao He was. He assumed that if it wasn't her very last resort, she definitely would not have let Mo Fan come and assist her. Moreover, when fighting against Chao He, Tang Yu did not actually plan on having Mo Fan take action. Chao He was too horrifying and cunning, and Mo Fan didn't have the experience and proper abilities to protect himself. Out of protection for Mo Fan, Tang Yu didn't ask him to directly interfere. How could Mo Fan not notice this kindness from her? Now that this kind of embarrassing thing had happened to her, Mo Fan let go of his wicked thoughts to help her. Just when Mo Fan was about to ask a question out of concern, his whole being froze. Just like that, one rosy red lip kissed Mo Fan. The soft tongue seemed to instantly want to ignite all his primitive lusts. It broke right through Mo Fan's untested defenses and scattered all his pure thoughts. He used lightning to attack his enemies, but Mo Fan felt the electrifying feeling on himself this time. The numbness from the tip to the end of his tongue, from the bottom of the tongue to his whole body, it felt like he was being baptized once more. All of his cells were active and his blood seemed to thunder in his veins. There was a soft fragrance carrying the wild characteristics of a beauty as it crashed into him. He was completely unprepared and felt extremely apprehensive. However, he quite enjoyed it. Groan. When the pleasant sound passed by the driver, he subconsciously turned around and saw what had happened. His heart began to pump fast. Aren't you a bit too impatient? I understand if you youths want to please yourselves in a car, but this is a taxi. If I remember correctly, the young man called the beauty a teacher. Heavens! This is too exhilarating. Buzz! Suddenly, purple lightning lashed out toward the front seat of the car. The bolt instantly broke the car's rearview mirror into pieces, scattering them everywhere. The driver turned back shivering, his face pale white. If you dare to turn around again, you're dead. Mo Fan shouted at the driver when he was finally able to take a breath. The driver didn't dare to do it again. He behaved and stared straight at the steering wheel. Occasionally, he heard the erotic sounds the girl was making from the back of the car, and felt like he was about to faint from hearing them. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.